I have been in a relationship with my girlfriend for 3 years now. Let's call her Nikki. It all started when I casually commented on one of her Instagram stories. We began chatting from there, exchanging number, and added each other on a Snapchat. After a week, we decided to meet in person. We started spending time together right after the holidays in January, and Valentine's Day was approaching. It was comforting to have someone to talk to during that time, so I wouldn't feel lonely on that particular holiday. As Valentine's Day got closer and Nikki and I went on a few dates, she shared with me about a terrible situation she was facing. There was a man named Ben who had been stalking her. Ben, who is a few years older than Nikki, attended the same commuter college as her. They had met during a group project in class, and he had started following her around campus. She never got the police involved, which was surprising to hear. The guy somehow found out where she lived and started sending her creepy texts, which she chose to ignore. She didn't block his number because she wanted to see how far he would go without her responding. When I asked her why she was telling me about this now, she mentioned that he had started contacting her again, especially for Valentine's Day. He began texting more frequently as Valentine's Day got closer, but she continued to ignore him and let the messages pile up. However, things escalated when he left a box of Russell Stover chocolates on her doorstep. She recognized the message was from him because he texted her saying, "I hope you like the gift I left you." This is when she decided to stop it and send him a long message, which I don't share for her privacy. In short, she told him he needs help and that she is now in a relationship, so he should leave her alone. There are various ways to find someone's address nowadays, but she was afraid he might have followed her home one day to get it. I assured her that I would do everything to protect her from him. A few days later, Nikki sent me a worrying screenshot. It showed a text from an unknown number asking if the person she was dating was me. This made me feel uneasy and more involved in the situation. Up until now, all I had heard about this guy was that he was very creepy and kept sending persistent texts. There were concerns that he might have followed the girl I'm dating to her house. Now he's texting her from fake numbers and mentioning my name. The situation was getting serious, and Nikki was considering involving the police if it didn't stop. I assured her that I would accompany her to the police station if he contacted her again. Fast forward to Valentine's Day, which fell on a Friday this year. Nikki and I went out for a meal at a nice restaurant by the water. We sat at an outdoor table due to the pleasant weather. While we were eating, we both noticed a man sitting on a bench outside the dining area near the parking lot. He had his hat pulled down low over his face, as if trying to hide. Nikki jokingly said, "What if that's Ben?" We laughed, but then he turned his head slightly in our direction. While we were watching him, he suddenly looked away and then quickly got up and left. Our laughter stopped, and we started to doubt if it was really him. After a few minutes, we changed the topic of conversation and continued to have a good time. Later, we wanted to continue hanging out since it was Valentine's Day, but her parents were at home. I had the house to myself, so we went back to my rental house together. We were sitting on the couch and things were starting to get more romantic when Nikki suddenly pulled away from me and said, "Did you hear that?" I heard something too. I asked if she wanted me to check on something in the backyard, and she nodded. I went outside to the backyard patio, expecting to hear some animal running away when I arrived. I put on my slides and walked around the yard, looking for anything that might have fallen over. I discovered the source of the noise. The entire stack of big chairs that had been leaning against the house had been knocked over. It seems strange because there was no wind that night. I glanced at the bushes surrounding our yard and quickly noticed something out of place. I saw something tall in the bushes and tried to focus on it. As I stepped closer, I realized it was a person standing there. He noticed me looking at him and started coming out of the bushes quickly, which made me feel threatened, like he might charge at me. I took the opportunity to push him to the ground while he was still tangled in the bushes and twigs. I shouted at him to stay down and called out for Nikki to come outside and call the police. The man on the ground tried to break free a few times, but I managed to keep him in a firm grip. When Nikki came outside talking to the police, I asked her if he was the guy. She gasped and confirmed that he was indeed the same Ben who had been bothering her. What made it worse was that I noticed he was wearing the same colored shirt as the man with the cape from earlier at the restaurant. The police arrived at the house and arrested him. He was charged with trespassing and taking advantage of the situation. Nikki showed the officers all the harassing and obsessive messages she had received from him. Since he was already being arrested, Nikki decided to press charges for stalking and harassment. The man ended up paying a fine and receiving a misdemeanor for his action. Nikki obtained a restraining order against him, so if he ever contacts her again, he will be arrested. Ben was a real creep, but thankfully he was smart enough to not to contact her again.